How does the market today compare to the market in 2008? Next on Don't Bet the House.
Pretty good.
Pretty good? Workout?
That was a good stand-in for Mike right there.
Mike, thanks for showing up, buddy. Yeah. What happened to Mike? Is he lost?
I don't know.
Maybe he beat it? Yeah.
We sent Mike out on assignment.
Yeah, we sent him to the Super Bowl. Yeah, Mike's at the Super Bowl. I hope not.
Actually, he's in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Getting the behind the scenes on how they come up with these prop bets. So.
Okay, I like it. Well, as the title says, we're going to talk today about how the market compares today in our local market, not national market, compared to 2008. So go ahead and give me your opinion.
Well, I think the biggest difference between now and then is, 2008, 2009, 2010 were considered the biggest housing crisis in the United States. And one of the major factors, and I think probably the major factor that caused that housing crisis, was people were just over leveraged in their house. It was so easy to get a loan that people had 3 or 4 houses that they owed more money on their houses than what they were worth. And that caused people to, when they couldn't make those payments, they just let them go to the bank because they weren't worth what they owed on them. And so you had a huge influx in inventory, mostly caused by people not necessarily giving up their primary residence, but giving up, their second house or their vacation house or their third house that they had because they didn't have to show any income in order to be able to get financing for these houses. And where that compares to now is over the last few years, we're seeing prices increase really rapidly. But the reason why prices are increasing is because we don't have any inventory. Lending practices are so much different now than they were in 2008 that the only way to be able to afford a house, you had to show income. You've had to have your credit run. And in many cases right now, it's in order to be competitive in these competitive offer situations, you've had to put 10, 20, 30, 40, even, pay full cash for houses. And so people are under leveraged, and you see that across every market in the United States. People are under leveraged on houses. And so I just think there's going to it's such a huge difference when it comes to the actual financing of people's properties. What do you see?
I agree and I disagree a little bit. I think I agree with the fact of, everybody talks about, we just talked about this or whatever, there could be a 30% pullback or whatever nationally, not necessarily in the Kansas City market, but nationally. But really, you have this graph pulled up over there, it's like since 2008, they've just steadily gone across the board. They haven't really moved much. And then you get to probably 2016, 2017, and you start to see them go up. But it's like a 30% pullback of what, the last year, the last 10 years? There's no way possible of that. Now, as far as the leverage part, I do think the one thing about it is I think now, and I just think this is everybody, most people live over leveraged on everything they do because it costs so much to live. It costs so much for a house. It costs so much for a car. So I do think that there is that problem. But I also go back to the fact of no matter what, we still have a housing shortage. So how can you really have a bad market with a housing shortage? And, so I was talking to a foundation guy this morning. He pours the foundations or whatever for new houses. And a lot of new home builders have just stopped pouring them because they don't want to sit on these homes, Well, what's going to happen is the same thing. So you let us get out of this little bubble we're in and this little drawback, whatever the hell you want to call it. And in a couple of years, we're going to be in the same predicament because nothing new is being built. So it's not, I don't know. Whenever obviously 2008 was a big issue, but I just don't see that today as what we saw. Yes, people are over leveraged, but no matter what, there's such a housing shortage. What is it? How can you have a bad market?
Yeah. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and, him and his wife, they just got pre-approved. They are getting ready to start looking at houses. And he was asking me about the market. And one of the things that he's reading is that, all these national news places or these people on Twitter that he follows is, they're saying that there's going to be this huge pullback in pricing over either this year or next year. And I just, I don't see it in the market right now. And when I look back at historical averages in our area in the country, in Johnson County, everybody talks about 2008, 2009, 2010 being where there was a huge crash in the market. But when you look at historical averages, the average sale price in Johnson County, first quarter of 2008 was $200,000. The first quarter in 2009, it was $200,000. And the first quarter in 2010, it was $200,000. And so in the worst crisis in housing in maybe in American history, in Johnson County, the house prices stayed stable. Yeah. They didn't go down. And so the mistake that people make is they listen to these pundits talk about, all these prices that are going to crash. But these pundits aren't talking about when they're talking about these home prices going down. Most of the time, they're talking about the West Coast. They're talking about the East Coast. Maybe they're talking about Phoenix, Arizona, which is a market where there is some pullback. Yeah. New York City, where there is some pullback. But here in Kansas City, and in particular Johnson County, which is one that we serve often, the house prices are incredibly stable. And where we've seen prices increase so much is strictly due to a lack of new construction that went on from 2010 until 2020. And the problem is like you said, builders aren't building. And when they are building, it's really hard to get an entry-level price.
Well, I think that is a big problem. Is I think no matter what we do in America, I feel like everything is kind of, it's hard to. You look at we'll go outside of real estate. You go look at a used car. Like a used car now, something has 150,000 miles on it. It's still $20,000.
Yeah.
You go to McDonald's, it's $10 to eat. No matter what, like everything is in my mind overpriced to what we're historically used to paying for it. But the thing is, people still, we have Chick-fil-A across the street. The line's still packed there every day. You drive by McDonald's, the line's still packed. There's people buying cars all the time. Why is it that real estate is the one thing that everybody always decides to talk about as if, oh, you shouldn't be buying real estate? No, maybe you shouldn't go out there and buy the car that cost you $1,000 a month. But people don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, why we're getting on that, why are investors still grabbing up all the houses?
Well, that's a great question. And, from my perspective, what I see is not only are we in a housing shortage for people who are looking to buy, but we're in a housing shortage with people who are looking to rent. And so rent prices are going up. And if rent prices are going up, it makes more sense for investors who are, buy and hold investors because they're able to profit more. I was talking to a HUD specialist in Kansas City, and she was talking to me about Section 8 housing, which is just a subsidy for people that the government pays for people to, subsidize their housing expense. And she was telling me that they are taking any landlord that's willing to apply for it because they don't have any housing solutions for these people who are getting government subsidies. Yep. It's an incredibly underserved community. It's checks that are almost guaranteed by the government that it's coming in.
I think at the end of the day, Luke, I think the reason you see that too is like there's always been a stigma kind of behind, like sex. No, it's not. It's like, if you really just, stand back from this a little bit, like it's hard to live nowadays. It's hard to continue to, live at the standards of the rate of what everything is changing at. It's hard to do that. So there's nothing wrong with, government assisted housing or whatever. Yeah. It's just, no matter what though, like we just had Ed in here, and he was talking about, one of his favorite lines is, at the end of the day, interest rates could be 8%, they could be 13%. If you're renting, what is the interest rate?
Yeah, you're paying 100% interest.
Yeah. So it just, and that, none of that really matters. Like, I feel like, yes, it does change your buying power, but I even feel like right now we're noticing a little bit of the change. One good thing I do notice about our market is I feel like buyers are very educated nowadays. And I think that buyers are kind of hard-headed where they're like, you know what, I'm not going to continue to pay these astronomical prices. So they stop buying a little bit. Well, what happens? All of a sudden prices start coming down a little bit. It had to happen at some point in time. It's not a bad thing. I mean, you can't continue to go uphill all the time. You have to have small corrections.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what we're in. But even, hell, we've had nice weather the last couple of days besides today, and I've noticed the showings going up. I've noticed more leads. I mean, so does that tell you that it's going to be a bad market?
No, I think this spring market, we're going to see something very similar to the last couple of springs that we've seen. We still have very low inventory. Now that interest rates have stabilized a little bit and even crept down a little bit, I think people are going to get back out there in the market that maybe put off their search in the fall or in the winter. I think this is going to be another great market in real estate.
Obviously we could beat a dead horse all day. And what I think, as humans we do is I notice even gas prices, like, gas prices are slowly creeping up lately. Who's been talking about that?
Yeah.
Nobody. Because you know what? Like, we're conditioned to it now. 6 months ago, whenever they went from $1.99 a gallon to $3.50 a gallon, like, of course, everybody was talking about it. We're back up to, I think I paid it $3.19 today or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't sit there and it's not a shock to me because I'm conditioned to it again.
Yeah.
And I think buyers are now conditioned to, it's going to be a higher interest rate, but it's still a great investment. I mean, houses are just, they're a great investment, man.
Yeah. Mike and I, we did a show last week on why we thought real estate was the best investment for people and the best place to put your money long term. And I truly believe that. I've seen the power of investing in real estate. And I invest, I try to diversify my holdings over, stocks and bonds and real estate and even different types of real estate. And
one thing about you just brought up stocks and bonds, not to cut you off, but it's something that's been in my mind right now just because you said that. At the end of the day, a stock can go to zero.
Right.
On a house, no matter what, Luke, you still have that asset.
Yep.
Like, no matter what, a house is never going to go to zero because you still have that asset.
And you have insurance to protect you if it, if anything bad were to happen.
So it's one of those things, and that's, I guess, the point of this conversation for us is I want people just to be educated and know that, don't listen to national media because not everything is compared equally. I mean, it's...
And real estate it's a local market, and our market is different than the West Coast market. It's different than the East Coast market, and unfortunately, most of our media is centered in California or New York, and so that's where a lot of these people are. They're just talking that's what they're seeing in those markets. You're not seeing that in our market.
You talk about most national news does not have to base around Kansas City, which brings me to a great point. I look at our guys, they're in the Super Bowl this week, and I think that at that point, we're a small market team to the rest of the United States. And so I sometimes feel like we don't get the national media that we should. I mean, these guys are good. So for me, that's a good segue into let's talk about the damn Super Bowl, man.
I've been listening for the last 2 weeks to local sports radio, 810, and I'm here for all of it. All the media, all the interviews, talking Chiefs all day. I'm here for all of it.
Okay, well, while we're going to talk Chiefs, I mean, how do you feel?
I think this is like one of the few Super Bowls where I feel like the two best teams over the course of the year are actually playing each other in the Super Bowl. I think it's two really evenly matched teams. I think Philly's defense is going to be a really good opponent for the Chiefs' offense. I think that pass rush is, it's been devastating all year. They led the NFL in sacks. They have good, good edge rushers, and then they have a good, interior defensive lineman. So they can be really disciplined when they're trying to go after Mahomes. I think it's going to be a good chess game between the offensive and defensive coordinator on how they're going to, attack each other. But I think on the other end, our defense is, we maybe the most underrated unit in the NFL is our defensive unit.
Because I think at the end of the day, dude, we're overshadowed by such a great offense.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's hard not to be. I mean, it's just one of those things. Even as a Chiefs fan, sometimes I think I underestimate our defense because our offense has historically, since we've had Mahomes, they've kind of been the ones that have got us through all the rough times until last week.
Yeah.
They're the ones that, they stepped up and they said, hey, we're legit. We're here to play. So I feel like, I feel like our defense is a little bit underrated because of that. But also at the end of the day, like, man, my thing about Philly is they're one of those teams that personally I can't sit here. I don't know if I know enough about them because I don't feel like, in my opinion, they've been battle tested by the teams. I think that the AFC this year is obviously, I think there's more star power. I think there's tougher teams. I just, a lot more younger quarterbacks. I mean, in the NFC, you look at, the Rodgers and the Brady, and you got some of the older guys over there, Matt Stafford, all the new guys are in the AFC for the most part, besides Jalen Hurts. So I don't know if they've been battle tested enough. So I'm kind of curious to see how all that plays out. But what kind of picks you got going on this week?
Well, the best thing or one of my favorite things about the Super Bowl is all of the prop bets that they have out there. And so, obviously you have your the point spread and who you're going to take for the game, and obviously I'm going to go with the Chiefs getting the +1.5. I did an alternate. I parlayed them with an alternate line, so I bet under 55.5 for the game. But I think my favorite. I have 3 props that I really like, which are real unique style bets that they don't offer on most regular season games or playoff games. And I'm going to start. The first one that I like is, will the 2-minute warning in the first half end at exactly 2 minutes, or land on exactly 2 minutes?
Okay.
And I'm going with the no on that, and that no is +410. And so, what they're banking on is, somebody having possession and them just running the clock out to get to the 2-minute warning, and probably a good strategy. Obviously, that's the favorite. But I've just seen so many times where, somebody's in the hurry up and maybe they complete a pass and, the clock ends at, 1:58 or 1:59.
Absolutely.
And so I like that as a prop. What do you have? What's one of your props?
I took first to score. So I took the Chiefs first to score is +150. I think I put down $10. I'll get 25 back. So to me, and there is a lot of fun prop bets. And even like the one you talked about with +430 or whatnot.
410, yeah.
Yeah. What's $5? Like, why not throw $5 out there to see what the hell happens?
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely I took that. I noticed that you put, I think one side it has it 51.5, one side has it at 50.5 on the over/under.
Yeah.
I think we talk about both of these offenses being high powered, and so I took the over on them, and I took the first to score, and then obviously I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So I'll probably, in order to make some money on this, I think that you have to parlay a few things together, because if not, there's just not enough. There's not enough good bets out there unless you're just going to take something totally crazy like both Kelsey brothers to score or something like that.
Yeah. I saw that. That was like +8,000. That's a pretty good one.
But you actually think about that. How many times? That actually would not be a bad bet to put $5 on, because how many times have you seen them put somebody in there to put a lineman in there?
Or anything, a fumble in the end zone and he lands on it.
Yeah,
or,
it could be one of those things like, put him in there as a fullback, just something fun, something to keep it entertaining. +8,000, hell, I'll put $5 on that. I'm okay losing that.
Yeah. Another prop bet that I really like is what will happen first for the Chiefs, either score points or punt. And I'm picking that they're going to score points before they punt. It's only +108, but I just think that with the way that the offense is wired up right now, they're going to get in field goal range. Early and often, and so and with the way Bucker's been kicking in the playoffs, knock on wood that he keeps that up. I like that to hit.
Me too. Well, I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know if he's sober. I don't know how many drinks he's had. I really don't know what's going to go on here, but we're going to go live to Vegas and see what Money Mike has to tell us today.
Live on location, Money Mike.
All right, guys, we are outside of the Bellagio. We're at the Beer Park, Las Vegas, at Paris Hotel. The flight in was all Chiefs fans. They're ready, and I'm ready. Chiefs Kingdom is ready to represent. I'll tell you what, the way I see this game, I think the Chiefs have a great chance. I think they've got the better quarterback, and I think that makes a big difference. I think the Chiefs are going to pull this out, win their second Super Bowl in 4 years. It'll be 27-24. Cover the spread. It doesn't matter. That's all you got.
And we're back.
Old Money Mike. We miss him, but it looks like he's having a good time.
Yep.
Yeah, but, it's Super Bowl weekend. Obviously, Friday we have our awards ceremony, and, I'm probably, after today, I'm probably not going to do too much. I'm getting ready for this big game, man. Yep. I mean, I was talking to a buddy of mine last night, and, I think the older we get, obviously we work a lot. You're taking care of the kids, you're doing all these other things, and it's just like, man, sports just gives you that passion and that brotherhood, and it's just something that you can really relate to. I mean, I've been a Chiefs fan my whole life, and it's one of those things that, just the fact of being there and having your team in it is like, man, it's amazing, dude.
Well, I just think, I grew up in a small town in Michigan, and, we didn't have, like, pro sports teams in our town. And so moving out to Kansas City, and, since we've been out here, the Royals have been good. The Chiefs have been really good, and it's just a fun atmosphere because it seems like the whole city rallies around this. And, you drive up and down the streets, and people have their Chiefs flags hanging out the windows. The whole city's decorated in Chiefs stuff. It's just an awesome atmosphere to be a part of.
Man, I went to Rally House the other day, and it's literally like, people just walking by smiling at you like, go Chiefs, and it's just, you go, if you're wearing something Chiefs, somebody's going to say something. Yeah. And, we were on the plane when we were going to the Tampa game, and a gentleman that was sitting next to us, he was here for business, and he said, the one thing about Kansas City, he's like, it does not matter. He's like, the men know sports, the women know sports, like everybody knows sports and barbecue here. Yep. And it's just like, man, it really, it makes me smile just, be in this position, dude. This is what you wait for. And obviously, as a Chiefs fan going through a lot of years of hard times, it's like, man, you're finally here. And, obviously, we've been here a couple times, and hopefully we can come back with a W.
Yeah,
and next week we can smile a little bit. Yeah. But other than that, man, I guess we're going to cut this off with have a good time, but don't bet the house.